in regards to the gateways 1 and 2, how do you see this affecting what you do as an architect's practice throughout your difference between what you're doing at the moment and what you'll have to do going forward in terms of the extra work, maybe right from pre-planning right the way through to tender and contract?
Well, I think Gateway 1 is something that we were probably doing a lot of anyway. So Gateway 1 is just meaning that you need to provide a fire statement with your planning application. And for all residential buildings, we probably would have tried to do that anyway. When it comes to Gateway 2, as designers, we like to design buildings sequentially. So each package informs and interfaces with the next package. So it's really an iterative design process. However, now with Gateway 2, we're going to have to do everything up front, and we're going to have to get contractors to come in much earlier and specialists to inform the design to make sure that we're not elongating the design process. Because I think one of the biggest things for us is that clients are going to still want the same design program to get to site, but obviously we have to do a lot more work to be able to achieve that. So it's about finding the optimum time for contractors and specialists to come in to integrate with our design.
So I think the whole intent to make sure that you do it right day one, you fix it, and then you do what you should have done in the first place is music to my ears. The Grenfell Tower disaster very much focuses the mind on what we did previously and what we should be doing in the future. From a fire engineering perspective, I don't necessarily believe there is enough evidence or testing or any real merit in just simply prescribing 2 staircases and simply saying because there's 2 it's twice as good. And I think there are a number of factors that will affect 2 staircases, and actually the thing that people won't necessarily acknowledge is that 2 staircases in theory could make a fire worse, and I think without that appropriate consultation, we are in a situation where designers and developers are on hold in a lot of places. They are adding 2 staircases for the sake of it. They're adding 2 staircases to designs that if they actually went back to the beginning with the mantra of 2 staircases would never have started to design it the way they have. So they're being crowbarred into the wrong parts of the building, which is putting buildings that potentially were on the edge of financial projections being far over. So as a result of that, buildings aren't going to get built. And then beyond that, we're going to reduce the number of space in the buildings that we're creating. And for what? I think the trouble is society has decided via media and via government that the answer is 2 staircases, and I'm not convinced that is the answer. I think the Building Safety Act is the answer because the book says do that, so I'll do it, rather than is that appropriate for the building I'm designing? Let me think about it, and let me think about it in a holistic risk approach, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I think perception in the public is that high-rise buildings aren't safe, and so an easy win is to say let's mandate put a second stair in, and everyone goes okay, it's safe. However, what we're finding is that a lot of buildings that we've designed that we're now having the second stair in, the client is saying just put a second stair in that position there. But it's not a true second means of escape from apartments, and therefore it's not actually solving the problem at all, but it's a tick box exercise.
Ultimately, if we're getting the right competent people in place to design and specify these buildings and lay them out, then ultimately we should trust in that competency as long as it can be proved.
Nyasa, just finally, regards to the sign-off process that Neil was talking about with RFIs or potential alternative changes and so on, how do you see that playing out for yourselves?
Our understanding is that the Building Safety Regulator will not accept a material change on the basis of cost, even if the performance of the material is the same.
But I think when you look at the overall programme is going to get much, much longer. With infographic demonstrated 15 months extra on a normal building. It was for a very particular sort of organisation, but it was high-rise residential construction based on their normal programme plus the kind of no overlap between stage 4 and stage 5. So stage 4 is finished, then there's the process in between. Then we're building it, and that was with no going back and waiting and stopping during, so no changes. Then the process at the end to sign it off to the point that they got their first apartment ready was 15 months longer.
That is that it's not enough now to say that you're competent. There has to be the demonstration of competency. that's there, that's fundamental to it all.
Questions about CDP. So, are we going to, and with Gateway 2, so are we going to bring CDP in earlier to design before Gateway 2? And is that going to lead to additional cost? Or are we going to look to architectural practices to do more? And are they geared up to do that as well?
I think that as architects we will be doing more, but I do think we will need contractors to come in earlier and inform the design process and work towards more CDP. So I think it will be, but it needs to be done before the Gateway 2.